Friday morning, can't control it. Fired up and counting every minute. Hands are shaking, eyes are burning. The time has come, yeah, this is not a warning. The week was just so long, we had to let it go. Our problems disappeared, we're not tied up anymore. The weekend is here. Sunday calls, we are sick and tired of it. Up and down, can you feel it? Up and down.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Johansson show. I'm joined by the Cumbrian Outlaw himself, Rick Markus. Rick, thank you for coming on.
No, not a problem at all. It's an absolute pleasure, mate. I've been looking forward to this.
Nah, me too. Again, shout out to Ryan RPD for putting us in touch. Like, he messaged me earlier saying thanks for getting you on, and yeah, I'm excited to learn a bit more about yourself and what you've got coming up, like some exciting stuff. Again, with your character and what you're doing with Odyssey, and let people know who you are.
So, I'm Rick Markus, the Cumbrian Outlaw, but that's kind of a new thing to me, really. It's I'm from a town called Barrow-in-Furness, so I'm a couple of hours from anywhere. So I never thought, being able to become a wrestler was an actual thing. I thought, being a fan growing up and that, I didn't realise the opportunities were even there. So this isn't something I embarked on until I was 27 years old, maybe, so it came in a lot later than a lot of people, but I always had a passion for it all the way growing up, so in my late teens and all that, it was, I was still a fan, but I was doing the lads' holidays and getting pissed off and doing the thing and that, so that, and then when I was 27, I went to a local show of Knockout Wrestling and realised that them guys actually trained around near where I was.
Oh, wow.
So that was where I got my start, and it's and I've got so much drive and determination for this now that it's, and it's, in a way, it's probably good that I'm doing this now that I'm a little bit more mature than when I was 20 years old. A little story there as well, that I did actually go to a couple of training sessions when I was 20 years old, up in Morecambe, which I think the promotion in Morecambe at the time was XWA.
Yeah.
And I did a little bit of training there at the time. I lifted weights, drank beer, and I thought, wrestling, how hard can it be? I looked the part, went and did a couple of sessions. Oh, listen for me, I think the bumps were horrible, and the repetitive nature of learning how to actually, get the basics down, and that. I thought I was going in doing elbow drops and body slamming people, and it just worked the way, and a little bit immature then, so it's so I set off a little bit there. But
So what went through your mind then? Because you said you tried doing it when you was younger, around 20 or whatever, and the bumps may not have been as nice as they were, and for you to go through an experience where you've already tried it and thought, not for me, and many years pass and you're like, actually, I'm going to give it another go. Why was that?
I think it was a change in myself, really, to be honest. I've gone from a position where I was a young lad with not many responsibilities, really. I always had a job, but at that point I didn't have a job like I had now. So the money you go on going out on the beer and things like that with the lads, I was always a wrestling fan. I thought, this will be easy enough. I can just go and do a bit of training and that, get wrestling, And then when I got into my early 20s, I got in a relationship with my now ex-wife. So I settled down at that point, and then my priorities changed. I weren't going out all the time and partying and things like that. And I just got into a position where, like I say, I went to watch one of the Knockout Wrestling shows. My life was just in a lot calmer position at that point, and at that point, that's when I went for it. I found out they were training, and then the guy that was running the training at the time was actually Chris Ridgeway, because he's from he lived in Barrow for quite a long time as well. Yeah. So the guys that run Knockout Wrestling, basically how they started, they inherited a wrestling ring, and they used to do backyard wrestling. Literally, they've got the videos. It's hilarious watching it now. Chris grew up with them, so when I first started, it was Chris that was actually training us for a good 6 months or so before he moved back to Liverpool. So it was a good start with it, really, and I was kind of fortunate in the sense that because I was 27 and I did train and things like that, I kind of had the slight advantage in I kind of looked the part to an extent, You know what I mean? Maybe not as much as I do now physically, but like, you know, I had tattoos and bald head.
It's easier to stand out than being a young whippersnapper that might still be quite big to...
Yeah, well, what it was at that point as well was we used to do academy shows. So like someone like Chris or Craig Collins at the time, or a few others that are regular on them shows would wrestle against one of the trainees. So when I come in training, there was quite a few people came and went. They took a couple of months. They started helping getting a ring up and down, realised it worked for them. Do you know what I mean? Then there's a couple, 1 or 2 sessions, then we never hear or see them again. But there were 3 lads that stuck through it from the start. 3 young lads, and they were only, when I met them, they were only 13 at the time.
Yeah.
One's all 3 of them now wrestle regular and do main events at KOW. One's called Lucas Neon. He's a great guy. Like I say, young lad, he's only about 19.
Yeah.
He only does the knockout wrestling shows, but I believe he's actually booked on a few other shows going forward soon. So that's, I'm well happy for him. Will Carter, who's I've had some great matches with him, and he's an incredible talent, and he is going to get some places because, you know, he deserves to. And when eyes get on him, and eyes will definitely get on him at some point. And I know at the moment he's working really hard in the gym and everything. He's going to be great as well. And then the 3rd lad was 2-bit. So yeah, you've probably seen a bit of 2-bit. So them guys, they were just 13-year-old lads when I went in training. So like I say, I was fortunate. I was like 27, and you know. But then when I was wrestling them on a trainee show, it was like, you know, 27-year-old Rick wrestling 14-year-old 2-bit or whatever, or Will Carter or whatever. But it was cool because they've, like, from that young age, like, they trained from when they were about 12, and now they're doing main events at Knockout Wrestling, and the crowd reaction is absolutely brilliant. And 2-bit in particular, he's massively on the up now. He's getting quite a few shows and that, and like knowing him on a personal level, he completely deserves it. He's a great lad, and he's based in Manchester now, so he's getting more eyes on him. He's training at Future Shock and some other places, and then Will Carter as well. Because we're from Barrow-in-Furness, we're a couple of hours away from anywhere. So we do our own knockout wrestling training once a week. You know, so we're getting some ring time and doing a bit, and we kind of work on things, and we pass knowledge on that we have from each other. Like if I go and do a seminar somewhere, and you know, but there's only so much we can do, and the only eyes that are on us when we're training in that scenario is each other.
Yeah.
So Will's actually going to university in Manchester as well in September, I believe. So that'll be another chance for him. And him and 2-bit have had such unbelievable matches against each other that only the knockout wrestling crowd have seen. So I know when he starts training at probably Future Shock, inevitably people see how good he is, and he's going to. But you know, for knowing them from kids and that, it's really cool seeing how they're doing.
Brilliant. Now I believe I've seen 2-bit for BWR in Grimsby, I believe. They ended up winning the Cruiserweight title in a match with, I think it might have been Ricky Knight Jr. and Robbie X in the triple threat.
Joe Nelson it was.
Was it Joe?
Oh yeah, it was Joe Nelson. Because before that he did a tournament, that Youths in Revolt tournament at BWR, and Will Carter was actually in that. So he went down and wrestled Eddie in the first round. Eddie 2-bit each. You know, so he's with BWR now, and he won the Cruiserweight. I don't know if they're restarting the belts or whatnot. I don't know if they're doing a reset, but I know. Yeah, I know 2-bit's going to be a big part in that, and I'm very sure, knowing 2-bit and his character, that now they've announced that he's no longer Cruiserweight champion. He hasn't lost it. He'll ever be in his bonnet, and he'll make it work for him. He's brilliant like that, so it'll be fun.
Yeah, I believe they have restarted. Because I think with them being so early, they didn't want these ridiculously long title reigns for people not really doing anything. But
so much, well, hasn't it? So it's, you know.
What was it like training with Chris then? What was the things that you was learning from Chris?
Cardio. Chris is an absolute master technician, and he strikes hard, and it was just learning. The main thing we learned from Chris was when we were first doing matches and that, it was very much like right, you go in a wrist lock, then I'll go under and put you in a wrist lock, and then you go under and take my head, I'll come round the back. And it was like, whereas Chris was very much teaching us like how to just feel each other out and actually wrestle. You know, so that was something he was big on. And then, you know, and hitting hard and making things mean something. So like, for me not knowing anything at the start to training with, I think if I trained with someone else for the first 6 months, I might not have got to the point where I got physically and everything, because he had us in there doing air squats and press ups like stupid amounts of time and things like that, and rolling to all the corners, coming in the ring, doing 5 bumps, rolling the next corner in the ring, 5 bumps, like, so we ended up doing 35 bumps in a row and things like that. And it was great for conditioning, and everyone was working out. And that's probably like in that first 6 months is probably where I made most of my progress anyway, to be fair. Like I say, who you know, luckily enough we're in regular contact. He's, you know, he's still a good friend. So it's you know, it was good. It was really good. And I say the best thing is I got to make a friend out of it as well. You know what I mean? So that was cool. So I can always still lean on him for any advice and you know, and just to speak to generally. So it's really cool relationship.
What was that debut like then? Because it's one thing like having these training matches, but when you're doing it in front of these live crowds and stuff like that, how did you find that?
Well, like you said, the academy shows initially were, you know, for friends and family and that, and because I'd just started and I had quite a few friends in that, it's like we'd have 40 or 50 just at them. So I was nervous. I was like nervous for them, and then they introduced a showcase championship, which was basically the academy championship. And they did like a one-night tournament, which I won, so they put that on me. And then I was actually just working security on the main shows for KOW. And like say, KOW have always done really well. They're one of them companies that are like the local. It's the same fans each time, pretty much. It's 200. They sell it out. You just put, and because it's a local promotion, they don't have much internet traction because you don't really need to. It's not like they're in the Manchester area, Liverpool area, or whatever. It's like, you know. But I was working security, so one of the shows, we had a car that used to come up from Birmingham to do the shows at that time, and the regulars were Chris Brooks, Kid Lykos, before he was Kid Lykos, Drew Parker, Dan Maloney, and I think that was about it. Other times, 1 or 2 came in. There was one time Pete Dunn was there. There was another time, but they were all about 19 at the time. Like, but they were incredible, but they were really young. And there was Damien Dunn as well. One of them couldn't do the show. I can't remember which one. It's probably irrelevant anyway. But because I was the trainee champion, what ALP who books the shows, what he decided to do was have the opening match as a showcase championship, like invitational, or whatnot. So for the next few shows, I was opening the show, defending the showcase championship. And the first one, I was nervous. I was really nervous, but at the same time, once I got going into it and that, I felt okay. It was kind of an out of body experience. So, you know, it was a weird scenario. I think what it was as well is because I had some friends there and things like that, and you know, they'll chant up stupid things and that. So I'm trying to keep it together as well because they're trying to break me, you know, being a little bit daft and everything. And I thought it went really well. Watching it back now, it was like, oh, Jesus Christ. It was far too soon, but the circumstances, they needed someone. You know, when we were setting the ring up and taking it down before and after training shows, I was always the first one there. I was always the last one to go. So it was one of the situations where it's like, no, we're going to give Ricky a shot here. And as the shows went on, what I always did and what I always still do is whenever I do a match, regardless of how many I end up doing, if I can watch the footage back, I'll watch it back. And if I see a strike that's shit, I'm like, oh, fucking hell. Do you know what I mean? And I try just like what looked good and what worked, what didn't look good, avoid them. And, you know, and always learning that way. So watching the first one back, like, it's almost like watching through your hands, you know. But but as I came into the stride, I think because it was a local promotion and I knew a lot of the crowd, part of the reaction and the booing I was getting was some of it was organic from the younger crowd, but then the adults that I knew really emphasised that, which kind of made me feel more comfortable. Whereas if my debut after 6 months or whatever it was a bigger promotion where I didn't know anyone in the crowd, I probably would have shit the bed. Do you know what I mean? Like, or if you got a chant going that you can't wrestle or something like that, and the arse would have fallen out or something, so.
Nah, that's great. Like, I get what you mean though. Especially with like the intimate and non-internet crowds. Like a lot of the content I've been doing recently, if it's not been like different wrestling scenes around the world, it's more like the underappreciated scenes. And I've been speaking to people that maybe work for like NGW, where they're not an internet product, but they're still doing really successful, or All Star and stuff like that. And I think, despite you being on first, I think although you're getting in those same people, it's still a big role, because to some people that are there, you're going to be their first impression on live wrestling potentially. Like they may have never, especially because you're saying you're a couple of hours away from everywhere. They may not have been to WWE, and if they've been dragged along for their first ever wrestling show, and you're opening them up in this showcase, like invitation, you're their introduction to wrestling. Did that put any pressure on you?
To be fair, I never thought of it like that. If I did at the time, it probably would have. But yeah, it's one of them things where like that family crowd where it's I like the mix of having kids there and adults there that like wrestling. I think the product has to cater for all that. That's my impression of wrestling, because like I say, growing up and that's how I liked it. Like the late 90s, early 2000s, like WWE, where it was like you had your superstars, Stone Cold, your Rocks, your Undertakers, and that, and then you had that mid card of your Guerreros, your Jerichos, and then kind of people. It was like that was the perfect balance for me, So, but getting an organic reaction from a youngster in the crowd means the most to me, I'd say. Kid wanting to get the picture taken after the show. I mean, even if I'm playing the bad guy and they want a picture of me, even if it's a 200 crowd after the show, I don't have to be a prick. Do you know what I mean? I can still stay within character and get all snarly and put a fist next to the face when we're taking a photo and that. But so that, to me, that's what it's about. It's about your audience. So whether it is an over 18 show or a family show, they're the most important people there, and I think sometimes that can get forgot. So regardless of it, what the crowd is, you got to suss that crowd out, haven't you?
Definitely.
And the most gratifying thing is either being a hero or a good enough villain that they love the hero even more. That's the most gratifying thing to me. Yeah. And then the adults that come that, like, because the reality is, we all know what in this day and age, we all know what it is. But the adults that come to suspend their reality for a couple of hours and enjoy a show, they're the people that I mostly enjoy being in front of. Don't get me wrong. Like, I'll go out in front of an over 18 show, and if somebody wants to scrap and fight with me, and we go a little bit harder on each other, and we go for it, I'm totally game for that as well. But them family crowds, they make it special, and especially the ones where it's like intimate places, where it's like a local promotion, because they all come to each show and they know the characters and they know the stories, and that, it means even more to them.
100%. Like, 'cause how long have you been working with Knockout?
Well, there were there who were, apart from a stint at training when I was about 20 years old. I've been with Knockout Wrestling since I first started, which was, how old am I now? I'm 32 now, so 5 years.
5 years, yeah.
About 5 years. 5 years I've been.
The reason I asked was in one of my interviews with, it's not released yet, but with Dara Diablo, who's my local promotion NGW, and was talking about like his heel turn and why it means, because they're not running every week and sometimes not every month. But the same audiences coming in and coming in. Over time, it's grown and grown and grown. And then he turned heel against one of the biggest baby faces. I won't mention his name because it turns out he's a piece of crap. But when Darren made his heel turn, like, it was so successful, and everybody got it, because with these smaller intimate shows, they might be there. Say you've been there for 5 years, so they might have gone when they've been like 12 years old or 10 years old and still a kid, but then they've been going and going and going, and now they're a teenager and they've seen your character grow over time and they're getting invested in these storylines, so then the reactions are more authentic. And because with wrestling, especially with the British crowd, a lot of the audiences to me can be quite fake, because it can be just singing daft chants for the sake of singing daft chants and getting pissed and just singing this or singing that. But with these,
you almost like hijack the show, sort of, a little bit.
yeah, where they'll try to be part of the, like, as if they're the main focal point. Whereas with these smaller intimate shows, when you're getting these sort of reactions, they're so authentic because a lot of the crowd's grown up watching it.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's the thing. What I always found great was when I do a show at the weekend, and a kid would come up to me afterwards, get a photograph of me, whether I'm working face or heel, which I do both of, depending where I'm at. When a kid comes up to me and gets a photograph of me, but then on Monday morning I'm sat back at my desk at work doing the project management stuff, and it's like, it's such, because on Saturday night I was a superhero to that kid, or a super villain. And when you go back to doing what you do in your day-to-day life, it's such a gratifying feeling knowing that you've gave that moment to someone. So, like, you know, when I was a kid and I'd go and watch wrestling and whatnot, they were like that to me. So I know how much that means to the kids. And then sometimes, because it's a small town, when you go into the shops or something like that, or you go to Morrison's to get your shopping, and you see one of the little kids from the show to the dad, and they're elbowing the dad, saying, because
you feel like John Cena.
Yeah, you feel like John Cena. I've just got to pick up like a couple of packs of chicken. Do you know what I mean? It's like, you know, it's cool. It's cool. There was one time I walked into the gym, actually. This fella came up to me and he goes, honestly, mate, I said, I came and watched the show last weekend. Can I just get a photograph of you? Because the kid will be dead jealous. And I was thinking, you're a 40-year-old man. You know, I was like, yeah, awesome, wicked, you know. So it was cool that I made enough of an impression on his kid that his dad wanted to get a picture of me so he can have a laugh with his kids. Like, you know, and even though it is, you know, microscope, small town, we're out the way of everywhere. And I know at the moment my name isn't absolutely everywhere. And I get that. But to have them
making an impact.
That's what I mean, and that's the biggest takeaway for me. Like, you're making an impact on the, you know, on people's lives, not just the kids' lives, but like people in general.
Yeah, no, 100%. So you mentioned earlier, like, if your debut was one of the biggest shows, it wasn't your local, like, town and stuff like that, your ass would have fallen out and stuff. So what was your first booking away from Knockout, and how did that go then?
First booking away from Knockout was I can't remember what order it happened in. I went and did a couple of weeks the summer run in Mega Slam.
Yeah.
Like the back end of the summer run. That was good in the sense that I just got to wrestle. I wrestled more matches in 10 days than I had done altogether since I started wrestling.
Exactly. It's the repetition.
So that was good, getting the reps in. I hated stopping in a caravan with 7 wrestlers. I despised it. You know, I won't go into too much detail with who some of them wrestlers were. Do you know what I mean? It was like, I like to just get, you know, I'd literally go to sleep, then stay up late at night, whatever. I'd go to sleep, get up in the morning, go and get a brew and a newspaper and just sit out the way until the shows were starting, because I didn't want to be involved in all that. You know, like, I didn't know the extent of the bullshit, but like, even some of it was like, you got a bit immature at times. I thought, I can't be fucked with that, you know. So, but the experience as a whole, because I was getting to wrestle a lot, and that, I took a lot away from it, because I was at times getting to wrestle, you know, good people as well, you know. Like, I did quite while I was doing a bit with them. I did quite a few matches with Dave Graves.
Yeah,
And
he's so underrated in my opinion as well.
So underrated, and it was like, and it was good because we both a similar kind of stature and that, and like, he was more experienced than me, and like I learned a lot from him, and we worked pretty well together. So like, to be fair, he is someone that's, he is grossly underrated, I did take a lot out of it by the amount of matches I got to do. But then the main promotion that got me after that was in Morecambe at the time, because it had gone through quite a few transformations. It had gone from XWA to paid promotions to Alpha Omega Wrestling. That was the point that I came in there, and they did a show called Rising Stars, where basically
it's in the title.
No, I mean, it was like basically it was like 7 or 8 people that had never worked on their roster before, with 7 or 8 people that regularly work on their roster, and then I got the bookings off that, and that was really good, because that's where I got the first taste of the Morecambe crowd, and I was like, shit, if these guys love you, they love you. And the thing was, I always worked heel in Knockout Wrestling.
Yeah.
And I expected to go there and work heel. And sorry.
That's
and
right.
then and then I found out I was working face. So I got there, and it was one of them situations where the guy was like, "Oh, what's your shine?" Like, fuck, I've never had to do a shine. Do you know what I mean? It was almost that kind of situation. But I came out, and then the crowd just went mental. I've never seen me before in my life, but they knew I was the good guy, so they were going to cheer me until I gave them a reason not to cheer me, and they knew he was the bad guy. The guy who wrestled, what was he called? Miles Johnson.
Okay.
He was called. He did a politician gimmick and that, so it was like he came out and basically.
Everyone's going to cheer you against a politician, aren't they?
Even more so now, like if I wrestled him now, I reckon. So, so I came out, got a good reaction. That felt really good, and then it just went from there. And then, I was put through there, did a program with Mr. Williams and that. I got a good reaction. There was some we had some matches together, and because he was very good at making people absolutely hate him.
Yeah.
So but then that came to an end. Guys that were running it had thought it was time. Do you know what I mean? They'd done their bit.
Yeah.
So and then they were the main ones I was working for, and then I've done a match on This Is Wrestling for Drill, and then where else have I done? Then there was In Out Wrestling as well. I just started getting going there a little bit, and.
What was your thoughts on In Out Wrestling? Because I know before we started recording, was chatting briefly about it, like, because you felt it was the first time you was kind of getting your name a little bit more out there.
Yeah, that was the things I'd done. Like I say, I'd done the odd one in places out of town, and a little bit moving around with Megaslam, but it was the first one that was based in a certain area that were booking me regularly.
Yeah.
So that's when I was starting to get to know some of the guys on the Northwest scene, and actually become friendly with some of these guys. And that I enjoyed it. I really enjoyed it. The guys were always great to us. They put great food on as well, which I always remember. They had a lady in doing massages as well, one of the shows, which was great. So they really, really looked after us, and the shows were really fun as well. So I was very disappointed when they decided to not carry on. So I was disappointed, but you understand it. That's the way it is,
Yeah, the Speak Out affected a lot of people in a lot of different ways.
Yeah, and I think the guys running it fell out of love with what we were doing and that, and decided to move on. And you can't, in these situations, you can't really judge anyone for how they react to that situation, because it was a real dark time in that, and a lot of people thought were friends and that they didn't really know as well as they thought they did. That there was a lot of
Yeah, definitely. Was it In Out that you'd have met RP Davies then?
Yes, it was. That was my first introduction to writing RP Davies. So we've done, I think it was the second to last show that they ran. So it was around, I'll tell you when it was actually, but I was flying to Brazil the next day for a wedding in Rio. And it was on the way down, it's like, right, go to Liverpool, do this show, carry on down to London for my flight to Rio. So it was definitely February last year, just before there was rumblings of COVID, but I was like, oh no, what a load of bollocks. And didn't realise that this was going to happen. So that's where I first met RP Davies. He was wrestling Luke Jacobs. I think, was it Luke Jacobs?
Was it Lucas Steele?
No, that was at GPW. I think he wrestled Lucas Steele. I think it was Luke Jacobs. Anyhow, we didn't really get to speak that much on the night.
Yeah.
But obviously, I think you could tell a lot about people the way they interact with you and shake your hand and talk to you. And when people that don't know you spend the time to look you in the eye, give you a couple of seconds, be kind, have that, rather than, you get some people that will shake your hand, not be dismissive, but like, whatever. Do you know what I mean? Because you don't know you yet. And I remember just thinking, what a decent bloke, and then at the end of the show, we shook hands, you say, oh, look after yourself, mate, and that. And when you get a warm feeling about someone, you know what, they're a good person then. And I knew his background. Already. I was in the same position as probably a lot of the wrestlers were at the time. All this this professional boxers getting into it. People were starting to hear about him, and he has a really good following in Blackpool anyway. And so that was my first introduction to him. And since then, we've become like really, really, really good friends. And to the point that when we can wrestle again, we're talking about teaming together when we come back, because it's gone from talking about wrestling to just talking about life, and we've got similar interests, and we're a similar age, and we've both seen a lot. He's done his thing, I've done my thing, and you can't have nothing but respect for someone that can get to that level as a professional boxer, then come into wrestling and get this kind of swell, but to come in and have absolutely no ego at all. Do you know what I mean? He keeps his mouth shut, listens, he's kind to everyone, he's polite, and to be honest, one of the big things I'm looking forward to writing at the end of this COVID era is just going for a pint with him, just being able to go and have a proper crack with him. So we've become great friends, and like I say, we're talking now about how we're going to team together when this comes out. We're throwing ideas around already, so and it's just because we enjoy each other's company.
Spot on. Now, hopefully it won't be too much longer until we can't do stuff like that. But now, Ryan, I spoke to Ryan, it'd been nearly a year ago. It was in March when this had only just stayed out, and since then, again, like you said, just a decent bloke. If he knew I was having a hard time, he'd reach out and stuff like that, and we've kept in touch throughout that year.
That means a lot, and like I say, he's the one who put us on each other as well. Do you know what I mean? So it's the fact that he's done so much for me in the sense that he's got me on some of these podcasts and things like that, and through his connections. And he doesn't have to do that for me. He only met me last year, but because he's the kind of person I'd knock around in my personal life with.
Exactly.
It feels like we've known each other forever, and that's why we want to do this tag team together, because let's go and travel to towns together and put on a good show.
Yeah.
Do you know?
A 6-hour journey is a lot better if it's somebody that you enjoy traveling with.
Absolutely, and like both of us this year as well have changed quite a bit physically, in the sense because we've been on a lot of the guys have probably heard of it, the 36-week physique that a guy called Mushrooms, who actually a wrestler himself, part of the Island Brothers, mainly in GPW. I think he did some in Britannia Wrestling and that as well. So he's got a body transformation program where the basic structure of it is you trim the fat off for 10 weeks, you bulk up for 16 weeks, and you trim the fat off for another 10 weeks. And it's in the private Facebook page, we all encourage the hell out of each other and that. And it's like some of the guys that have gone through it are like for example, if you look at Big Guns Joe now, he's absolutely
ridiculous.
And that's because he's done this training program and stuck to the principles of what we're doing. And there's so many people that like Scotty Rourke's going through it at the moment, and he's ripped now. And
I believe Matt Myers posted an update regarding it as well.
Yes, Matt Myers posted an update a couple of weeks ago, and it was like Matt Myers is somebody that I'd never spoken to before we joined Nush's group. But then because we all have each other's back and everything, you can't build these bonds and that. And there's a lot of wrestlers in there. So it's really cool, you know. I try to think some of Callum Corey's on there, and Nick Maguire's on there. There's probably too many names. There's Rio, who's Nush's brother.
Yeah.
You know, but everyone that sticks to it comes out the other side. I tell you, that Drill's on it as well. He's lost an incredible amount of weight.
Yeah.
You know, there's loads of us. I could bring wrestlers off that are on it. But like through that, like you know, you're in the close group, you're liking each other's posts and that, and then like Ryan was really cool and me, and like vice versa, and then Nush puts together like these workshops. So when we went through that period of time when gyms were open again, you do a workshop in Manchester, and like, you know, you partner up with someone, be their training partner doing it, and like me and Ryan like partnered up doing that, and like just started talking about wrestling, and we were similar in the sense of like, you know, how we feel about entertaining a crowd, and like if you can change a kid's life and all that. Do you know what I mean? It was like shit. You know, we were talking about ideas and how we do things and that, and the way we were just talking and flowing and that, it was like it was really cool. It was really cool, and like there's going to be massive things ahead for him as well. You know, he's a top guy, and you know, the fact that he's in a position where he's like, yeah, let's do this, let's work together and do some tagging if we can, you know, if we can get out there, and you know, we're gonna, when we can, we'll get some promo pictures and like video shoots together and that, and start getting some things out on the socials and try and get a little bit of traction and see what we can do.
Oh, you know, I'll have to get you both on at the same time when it's all said and done. And
I massively appreciate that. And like, you know, Ryan anyway, of course he's going to appreciate it. You know what I mean? He's a diamond. So.
No, brilliant. And like you mentioned, Nushan, like the body transformation you're doing, and it's clear to see that even during this pandemic, you've not kind of just sat back. Like this Odyssey Pro, which we'll get into later, you've been doing Nush's workout, but you're also working on like this Cumbrian Outlaw, and you mentioned before we was recording, like you've been with Chris Brooker doing like working on character and promos and stuff like that. Explain like what made you go to Chris, and like what have you actually been working on and learning, and who is this Cumbrian Outlaw?
So it was one of these things where it was like I grew up in the pub trade. So I'd always been in bars and that, and like from bottling up when I was like a 9-year-old kid to working behind the bar when I was underage to work behind the bar and things like that. So I've always been like in them kind of social environments and having a beer and all that kind of. I don't drink too much now because of the transformation program and things like that. But then I went through a rough time as well, like when the divorce and that was going through, and I was in a really bad place. And part of this training thing with Nush was like, mentally, I'm in the best place I've ever been in my life now, and it's been a long journey. Like that's the whole podcast in its own, you know. And it's like I've started to like find who I am again and what I'm about, and you know, and understanding it's okay to prioritize yourself and that, and kind of, you know, I'm just comfortable in my own skin and who I am, and it was one of these things where I was developing this character that it had gone from being a character in the sense that it was me playing wrestler. So I sometimes watch my matches back, you know, like when it's like now it's like promoters are like, oh, send us a picture and send us a match. I wouldn't want to send any match I've ever done to a promoter now, even though there's a lot of matches that I'm very proud of.
Yeah.
Because physically, obviously, beard-wise, tattoos, demeanour, the way I know I'm going to come back a total different wrestler. I wouldn't want them to see that because they'd be like, oh no, we're not going to book that. Do you know what I mean? Whereas I feel confident now in what I'm saying. I've gone from obviously you accentuate what you're saying and that, but I kind of believe in what I'm saying a little bit more now, and it's like I'm putting myself in that place where it's, and then the whole outlaw thing is like, the reality of the situation is I was a massive Sons of Anarchy fan as well, and I just think it's badass.
I was gonna ask about Sons, because I'd seen the like where they'd have like the prospect or the different patch and stuff like that.
Yeah, that's kind of the thing. Like you say, I've got my little like tag there that I need to get put on the cup that I've got an art time. I just haven't got the woman that's going to put it on. Obviously, I haven't been able to see her through COVID, so it's just sat on my side there. But that was kind of the thing, and what it was the principles of that. I'll be totally transparent. I don't own a Harley, but the principles of that are kind of similar to the principles that I have in my everyday life. It's like I literally take a bullet for my friends and do anything for them. Do you know what I mean? And then it's like, well, if people do me wrong and lose my trust and that's that then I'm not going to probably do what they're doing Sons of Anarchy. But do you know what I mean?
Depends what they do.
Yeah. But it's like the principles of brotherhood and all that kind of stuff, and the fine line between good and bad, and it's like, and that's what I like about it, and that's where Chris came into it. We were shooting ideas off each other and talking to him and like explaining the better ways to like take your time with a promo, let things mean things, and like your facials, and like it helped me with my confidence massively. But then it's understanding the character in the sense that whether I work face, heel, or indifferent, and the crowd can decide what I'm going to be, I don't change my demeanour. I don't go from skipping and high-fiving to snarling. Do you know what I mean? It's like I am who I am. And for the first time, I feel who I am in my personal life more going into this, that when I go into it, I'm not going to be in my head as much thinking, I need to do this, I need to do this, I need to do this. All I have to do is just be me, but turn it right up. And Chris has helped me with that massively. And I did one of his promo classes last night. But it's one of them things where it goes from being a promo class to me, it's like just talking and firing ideas off each other and like, oh yeah, this works and this works. And his ideas that he comes up with, I don't think enough good things are said about it. Like, he says something and he'll do just a promo to you there and then, and it's like, but he's got a background in stand-up comedy and he's done things like that for 20 odd years. So he's good at improv and things like that, and he's a real cool guy as well, because like during that period where we could go back to gyms, I was going through Future Shock and doing some training with 2-Bit. And so like I'm part of their training group, and they set up a seminar with Lance Storm last week, like an online one. And I think Lance was due like for an hour and a half. He did 2.5 hours, and on the quality of stuff, like he went through Young Guns against Synergy. He went right through it, broke it all right down, and it was one of them where it was like, for us to just watch, it was a brilliant match. It was tremendous, but he could literally stop it after X amount of seconds and say, but if you did this here, this would have meant more. And even, like, them guys, like the Young Guns are already on a trajectory where it's like sky's the limit, and that, for them guys that are already doing that kind of stuff to just know how much further it could even go. It was like it was incredible. It was one of the things I was sat there with my pen, like writing notes, and after about 20 minutes, I was like, "There's just too much information to take in. I'm just going to have to watch it back." And because as well, I was a fan, because like when he was wrestling, that was the era I grew up with, and that
it's still Lance Storm, isn't it?
Yeah, he's kind of in awe a little bit. There was a time we did a seminar up at Johnny Ross's up in Whitehaven, and everyone, at Whitehaven Way, and it was with Bob Holly. I'm a massive hardcore Holly fan. Yeah. And then like we come in and it's like it's intimidating, because somebody that like you watched on the telly that you're a massive fan of just sat there in front of you, like having a crack in it, it's so yeah, coming back like I say, I feel more comfortable in my skin now as well, and like even beyond this 36-week program, I'm going to carry on working with us. So like in this COVID time, it's like I cut a promo last week, and it was like, I was saying how people are standing still and they're on Twitch and they're doing the TikToks and all this kind of bollocks. And, what have I been doing? I've been working hard. I've been doing this. I've been getting bigger. I've been getting better. I've been getting stronger. I've got nothing against people playing on computer games and doing funny videos and things like that. But part of me that's like, I've made that much progress in my personal life and my professional life, and I've got a lot going on in my personal life at the moment as well, retraining in other areas. The development I've used this time to totally develop myself. The very start of lockdown for about a month, I was staying in, I was drinking a lot, and eating crap, and that's when I got on with Nush, and then my mindset started changing, and I'm just at this point now, like we said before we started recording, where I'm getting up at 5 a.m. to be in work at 6, doing my cardio before work, and then I'm coming home from work doing a workout, and then I'm working on all my other stuff till 9 at night, and it's like things like that would just seem impossible. Like when I was younger, it's like I finish work, sit down, I'll go for a pint or something like that. But it excites me. It's like now I've been up since 4:30 this morning, and I don't even know what time it is now. I've lost track, but it's brilliant because it's like I just like seeking that progression and getting just a little bit better, just doing the little things each day. And then you realise, it was like there's something I saw like with Will Smith on a video where it was like, if you're building a wall, you don't have to worry about the wall, but if you just lay each brick as perfectly as you can lay a brick, eventually you're going to have a wall. And things like that, just really resonate with me. And like I say, when we come back, and then with this team with Ryan as well, and the promotions that I'm already on, I can't wait to get going back, and I feel like I can make an impact. I really do.
No, I'm excited to see it, and it's good to see like turning the hunger and everything you've been going through to turn it so positively, and that gives you a sense of pride and kind of like reignites that fire a little bit. So it's going to be interesting to see when you put all that into place. Before we get into Odyssey, like, what would you say is some of your like proudest moments in ring? Whether it's some of your favorite matches, some favorite moment, or crowd reaction.
So there's three that really stick in mind. The first one was, Knockout Wrestling actually. I became a dual champion there, so I still had the Showcase Championship, and then I won the championship as well. So the Showcase Championship essentially became like a mid-card title there, if you will. So it like became the Intercontinental, if you will. And I was a dual champion, and that was a proud moment for me because I knew I weren't the best worker on there. I was about 18 months in, but it was. I knew a lot of it was down to my dedication and my hard work and all that kind of stuff, and I did the best I could, and they put the trust in me, and I was very proud of that. But the prouder moment was when I actually lost the title to a guy who just wrestled for that promotion as well, called Nightmare, who was the biggest face at the time. And the reaction he got when I got pinned was so gratifying because the crowd were that happy that I'd been beat, that I thought I'd done the job right. And I was laying there like thinking, and I was in quite a bit of pain actually. It was a bit of a rough night, but like I was so proud of that I'd done the job right more than anything, and they were right to put the trust in me to that point where it was the anniversary show and the big match main event. Yeah,
definitely.
And then there was one that was it was actually the last Knockout Wrestling show, so it was November or maybe December 2019. I wrestled a guy called Sheriff Steele, and now since I started, we've kind of had this intertwining rivalry all the way through.
Yeah.
And it came full circle in like a hardcore loser leaves barrow match, if you will. And he had a tag team partner as well that I'd also been tormenting for a while. And I put him on the shelf during one of the matches leading up to it. And at the end of the match, he was on top, ready to go. We'd just come crashing off a ladder through a couple of tables and stuff that people in the 30s probably shouldn't be doing, but we were anyway. And his tag team partner came out, took the chair off him, said, "Let me finish him." Turns around, whacked his partner over the head, and the crowd were like absolute fucking devastated. I got the win. I was like, it was kind of staring up at him a little bit like, you know, like the Kevin Owens and Triple H did that thing, staring up at him and left. And it was like the whole culmination of our rivalry to get to that point. And now I'm sure him and his ex-tag team partner will go off and do their thing now. But that culminating to that point and telling a story that went, it was never intended to, but the reality, we intertwined, both had the championship in between and that, but the story between me and him lasted over 3.5 years, 4 years, like from me being a trainee, and he had a couple of years on me at that point. And then, yes, that was really proud, but without a shadow of a doubt, the proudest moment was in a little community hall, just down around the corner from where I live. It was a young lad called Louis' 9th birthday party. He picked the matches he wants. He comes to all of our shows, sits in the front row. His mum's in a wheelchair. You know, he's there. He's got his headphones on, recording it on his tablet. He knows everything about everyone. He reminds me what I've done there. Do you know what I mean? He's one of my fans. And you know, even though I was a bad guy there, I was one of his favourites. And on his birthday party, he wanted a tag team match at the end with me and Sheriff Steele, who were rivals at the time. You know, like proper rival. This was literally leading into our big blood feud. But like, we did this tag team, and then it was a 3-on-2. So then we got Louis, like 9-year-old, to be our tag team partner. When I say tag team partner, he weren't in there doing anything. It was like he pinned 2-bit. Do you know what I mean? At the end, he got the win. You know, all the crowd were going mental, all his friends and like the parents and all that. You know, and I've got the little lad up on my shoulder. I've got a picture of it there. I always look back at it. Like, I've got the little lad on my shoulder and that, and it was like, it was cool because like in this little community hall with 40-odd people in there, this little kid's dreams were coming true as a 9-year-old, and like that's without a shadow of a doubt the proudest I've ever been. You know, wrestling by a long stretch as well.
100%, and that's what I was saying. Like, it doesn't matter if you're not on these big internet promotions. It's moments like that where at the end of your career you're gonna think back on. Like, I don't coach football anymore. Just again, I was just getting disgruntled with it, and my body's knackered. So, but when like people ask me like, oh, what was your favourite time when I was at Hull City, and I've done some stuff with United, but I always go back to doing something with Hull City on a camp. And it was just basically summer camp. People can bring their kids. They pay. We coach them for a week, and it was somebody with cerebral palsy, and he couldn't run properly, and because of the learning difficulties and stuff that he had as well, like he was always an outcast. And I used to always set the kids' homework. People had thought not wanker, but it was always fun and around football and stuff like that. And yeah, it had been around 7 or 8, and I ended up picking him for Player of the Week because he came from the shy little kid, not speaking to anybody, to being laughing and joking and telling jokes to the other lads. And I always remember getting given a card on the last day, and on the left-hand side was his writing. On the right-hand side was a note from his mum and dad. And his mum and dad got me a bottle of Jack Daniels because I'd brought some out of their son that they've never seen before. And despite being able to meet all these big footballers or whatever, it's moments like that. So I 100% like agree why that would be.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I see why. Like, so when you do have kids coming up to you and like your favorite wrestler and stuff like that, I can't imagine how that feels.
No, and that's it. And it's really gratifying and that. And like I said, you know, this kid, he comes to all the shows and that, and we've done his parties and that. So it's like it's really magic for him as well because he knows all the wrestlers when they're not wrestling as well. It must be cool. It must be cool for a kid. He's like he's 10 now. He had his 10th birthday during lockdown and that, and then he actually got a video together in the lights of Kurt Angle and Stone Cold Steve Austin and Drew McIntyre, and loads of people like said happy birthday to him on this video. Like, reached out because we couldn't do a party for him and that, and you know, it was real cool. You know, they're the moments. And like I say, it's like, you know, don't get me wrong, I do have aspirations to do all the big promotions and that, I really do. But there's no way I'll stop doing things like that as well. Or do you know what I mean? Because that's that's what it's about. You know, you get your personal goals in that, but you know they're the real reasons. You know, they're the heart and soul of it all.
100%. What are your goals for in ring?
My goals in ring are literally limitless, really. You know, it's I just my goal is that I just take every opportunity that comes my way.
Yeah.
That's all. You know, like I said, you know, NXT UK, you know, and these things are attainable these days because obviously, like, there's guys on there that have been on shows. There's like I wrestled Sam Gradwell in Morecambe when I was nowhere near ready to, you know, and he was really cool with me. You know, so it's like I do have goals like that, but I can live not getting them because you know it's like I've got goals in so many areas of my life, and I do want to go to the top course. I do, you know what I mean? You know, I think everyone's goal should be to get the. If I could earn a living off this and not have to work, you know, building submarines, then fantastic. You know, that's the overall. But like coming back into it this year is obviously I want to make a success of Odyssey Pro Wrestling. You know, if I can get out there on more promotion, fantastic. I want to get out there on promotions with Ryan as a team. You know, and I think me and Ryan can have a big thing there as well. Like I really do think, you know, we've got something there. So that right now, that's my major focus is on Odyssey and getting this team out with Ryan and obviously doing everything I can in the promotions. I already work with you know, your likes of Knockout Wrestling and there's a company that was meant to start this year called Kingdom of Wrestling as well in Southport. I'm going to be working with them as well. You know, so it's so Sheriff Steele's actually the guy that's involved running that as well. So it's going to be cool because I know his likes and dislikes in wrestling. So it's the kind of place I want to be. So yeah, that's it. Like sky's the limit. I just know that I'm going to do everything I can. I'll work as hard as I possibly can, and when opportunities come, I'm gonna be ready for them. You know, rather than have to get ready for them, I'm going to be ready for them.
Brilliant. So Odyssey Pro Wrestling, then, like, how did that come about? Who is it that's like running the ship with yourself?
So there's me, Ethan Edwards, who does he's the like general managers at places and ring announcing and things like that. And he was one of the announcers at Morecambe, did the backstage interviews and whatnot. And then a guy called Andre Decker, who was a wrestler at Morecambe. He's done like I think he trained at Infinite initially, and you know he's been around a little bit. But Morecambe was his main place. And Ryan Hunter as well has been involved in it. He's not a director in the company, but he is part of, you know, when we're going through the booking and everything, because he's had a massive part there in the sense that he started out as a cameraman in Morecambe and ended up becoming their champion. So he's their hometown hero because they've seen him from an overweight little cameraman to being their champion, you know, and that crowd love a fucking story like that. Do you know what I mean? Because I think you know, it's a saying, like, it's still real in Morecambe and that, and it's like, you know, they come there to find a hero, and they come there with like-minded people, and whatever's going on in their lives, on that wrestling show, that's, you know, if the bad guy wins and that, you know, I mean, some of them cry, some of them, you know, they get so mad, and honestly, it's an incredible place to wrestle. Like, it's absolutely fantastic, and that was the main selling point to me, just to be involved with that, you know. So initially, I weren't involved initially when the idea got shot around of doing it. They contacted me and asked if I wanted to get involved in it. We sat down, spoke about the X's and O's of the situation and what our goals are. But rather than just jumping in and saying, I was like, right, you know, what do we want from this? Where do we want to go with this? And it wasn't a hard sell, you know. I'll say
that. So what are the plans? Like, what's Odyssey Pro Wrestling, like, what's it going to represent? What can people expect when you're running shows?
It's going to be, a lot of it is, we look back at what we loved as kids.
Yeah.
So it's definitely going to be, we've got a lot of incredible wrestlers on there, but it's going to be very story driven because, like I say, it's your regular crowd and that, and You know, we're going to have promo videos playing before the show and things like that. The good thing is, like, when you play these videos before the show and that, you know, the crowd are already booing and cheering before the music even starts. So when the music starts, they're straight into it. So there's going to be ongoing stories. Our roster is, in the first 12 months at least, the same core, 15, 16 or so people. Few people in and out as well, yeah. But you know, because I want these fans to get to know them, and that's why we're doing these weekly roster announcements. And you know, obviously as well, because we're in a time of COVID, we're not rushing with these roster announcements. So you know, doing one a week, we can spread that over a 3.5 month period, and then in that time we've got little introduction videos that we're starting to record now, and already recorded that we've got sat there waiting to release. You know, and it's really exciting that we're trying to think of all these different ways. We want to ensure that, like, even though we're really looking in the sense that we've got our base fans in Morecambe, and that we'll sell a lot of tickets alone off that because they love it there. But getting the word out more as well, if we can bring more people in and more wrestling fans and gain that traction, and then they can come along and see how good a show we're going to put on, and we've got good production, we've got good videos, like it's a real exciting time, and it's going to be a show. It's going to be a show, ongoing stories, and like I say, we're really excited. And so, like, some of the when we initially booked all the guys, you know, we took the time to we did a Zoom call with everyone. Because we've got all the terms and conditions in place, what we expect of the wrestlers and what they can expect of us, and what our intentions are going forward. Like I say, we haven't put it all over the internet and that, because my honest opinion of that is I don't need I don't need telling by an online wrestling fan who's not even going to be at my show anyway whether my safeguarding things are good enough, because I'm going to speak to every single wrestler, go through it all with them, make sure they're happy with it, make sure they're comfortable, make sure they know who they can go to in any situation, and make sure that they're comfortable in every situation. Yeah. And we're going to look after them, because they're. And then when we are there at the start of the show, when we're saying, you know, you're all excited, you're ready for the show, and the ring announcers, they're going to put a little bit in there to the fans. Do you know what I mean? That obviously your racism, your homophobia, sexism, and all that not be tolerated. You know, there won't be a warning, you'll be out the door. Do you know what I mean? Because the guys working for us, we want to make sure they're safe, and the people that are sat in our crowd, we want to make sure they're safe. Now, if they want to go and put all over the internet with such a safe environment, and, you know, that everything was in place and that's their prerogative. But they're who we're focusing on, not the people that want to just go and pick a fight on the internet.
No, I agree, and that's why I was laughing, because I'd seen some of it, and I'd seen some people where they're like, they'll slate one company and we're like, well, this company's already put it out, but I'm just thinking in my head, yeah, I saw that one, and it's a copy and paste thing that I've seen on the internet plenty of times. Like, I was speaking to Myers about it, like, especially in both our kind of jobs, we deal with safeguarding and stuff like that, and you can tell which places just put it out for lip service or the ones that are genuinely.
It's one of the things where it's not our place to say who does it for what reason, but it's one of those things where, you know, if they feel that they want to do that and be transparent with that, and every single person can see that, that's their prerogative. I just don't feel necessary to do that. If you know what I mean, that you know, if it's done for the right reasons, great. Do you know what I mean? And I do believe in most cases it is.
Yeah, no. But no, it's good to see that you are actually taking like the time and effort and making sure you're sitting down and actually going through it with people and stuff like that.
Literally everyone we got booked on, we sat and had a conversation with, touched on the terms and conditions, which we're constantly working on. Yeah. And before the shows, it's going to be sent to them. They're going to go through it all, you know, and if they're not happy with anything, they can air it with us. You know, and you know, we've got things in place for when they arrive at the show. We get the contact details of the next of kin. So if, you know, touch wood, nobody will get hurt. But if something happens, we need a contact. We've got a medic there. These things are in place. Do you know what I mean? So we're focusing on making sure that all these things are in place, and that's as well as putting on a good show. But when we did have these talks with the guys, we talked about what our framework booking's going to be, if you will, or what we're looking at. Obviously, it's got to change a little bit now and then, but especially because the shows are getting put back and we've only got people booked to a certain point and things like that. But it's nice having the input from them, like say, you know, giving them a little bit, you know, this is what we're looking at here, but we want you in that. We want your character. Do you know what I mean? How do you think you'd play that? And it's cool. Like, it was really nice in a lockdown situation to be able to sit there with the guys running it with me and the wrestler who's also passionate about it, like we are, and just shoot ideas like, oh, yeah, that'll be belting actually, and that works, you know. And it's like, giving, you know, rather than them turning up and thinking, oh, fuck's sake, I've got to do this. Do you know what I mean? It's like us telling them why we want this to happen and how they're like, well, I'll tell you what if we did it like, and it's cool that it's like, obviously our booking, but to make it as big and great as we can, we're making sure everyone's involved in the process, you know.
What's your role going to be on the show day?
My role's going to be on the show day, a wrestler. So the thing is, it's like, it's going to be a bit of everything, to be fair, you know. Like before the show, we will have a pre-match scrum down, if you will, with everyone, and you know, firstly it just said, you know what I mean, like how excited we are after all this time and everything like that. But that's to go through anything and any issues that people have and everything like that. And I'll probably take the lead on that because I'm that kind of person. Do you know what I mean? I'm, you know, once I get to know people, I get in my comfort zone and things like that. I'm happy to talk, and doing presentations and kind of things, something I do regular at work anyway. So I'm comfortable in these situations, and you know, but we're very lucky in the sense that we've got a production guy that puts the entrance videos together, does the lighting, the staging. He's a fucking genius. Like so we'll sit down a week or so before the show and get all our production ready. Yeah. We'll have a production meeting. We'll know he'll have everything ready to go. We'll probably go in the fingers crossed. We'll be allowed to go in the day before, get everything set up and the staging and all that kind of stuff. And then on the day we've got Anthony Johnson, Anthony Editor on Twitter, who's going to be recording the show, you know, from a high cam and everything, and he's going to edit it together and whatnot as well. So from a production side of things, we've got a real good squad there. With Brian Fulton, he's the guy that is going to do the production for us. I have 100% trust in him through being on shows that he's been producing before, to know that once we spoke at the wrestlers and the show's about to start, I can be the Cumbrian Outlaw Rick Markus and focus on that.
Yeah.
Not have to think, shit, what's happening out there? Shit, that light's not working. This entrance music, what's going on here? Because I've got to know we've got two good guys in Ant and Brian to make sure that all that will come together great.
Oh, brilliant! So you mentioned like you're gonna have the cameras there. For those that aren't going to be able to attend in person, are they going to be able to see Odyssey Pro online, whether it's on demand or YouTube?
The thing is, we won't put it straight on demand or anything like that, because I feel some people might do that when there's not much demand for it. Do you know what I mean? We might get a few from Morecambe, but I think the Morecambe fans will be there in attendance.
Yeah.
So we might have, you know, we have got a YouTube channel that we're going to start fleshing out soon. It's got a lot of historical stuff on it as well, actually, because we inherited it. You know, we might release the first show maybe, so people can see what it's about and whatnot, and see what the crowd are like and what everything's like. Like I say, we might, once it's recorded, we might get the commentary team to, you know, voice over the show maybe, just to add that in for when we let, because sometimes when you watch matches back and there's no commentary, it's like commentary adds so much to it, and and that'll depend on where we're going to share it, and is it viable to do? Do you know what I mean? So there's a lot of different variables. So we'll definitely be putting, I can guarantee we'll be putting one match from a show out anyway. Like, you know, and it's something we haven't massively discussed yet. You know, like, but we will be doing something with that. You know, and if it was 10 years ago, we might have burnt it on it with DVD, but times are changing, aren't they? You know.
Yeah, nobody's buying DVDs anymore, are they?
exactly. But that used to be a really good thing that you could record the show, burn it onto a CD, and then and like sell them and have like a cool little cover on it. Now that was a real cool period for that. I thought, and that way the fans that actually wanted it would do it. Whereas a lot,
They'll buy it at the shows and
but they won't pay £5 a month for a streaming thing. Do you know what I mean? In a lot of cases,
yeah.
Do you know, it's like fair enough to pay £10 a month for the network and that, but the content and everything that's on there, and it's a total. If you're a local promotion and they're a worldwide company,
yeah,
So
let's kind of break down some of the announcements you've got so far. Somebody we spoke about earlier in Ryan, so RP Davies. Like, what prompted, other than your friendship, for Ryan to be part of Odyssey Pro?
Do you know what? I was speaking to the guys, and when we were shooting ideas around, and this goes back right to when I was in out and I met Ryan.
Yeah.
And because initially we were meant to run last May. Do you know, that's when it was first meant to start. So I said to him, I won't mention the words about it. It was like, oh, that boxer that started wrestling? Like, yeah. I was like, he's one of the nicest people I've ever met. Do you know what I mean? And like, I think we should get him involved. And it was literally, I saw him wrestle that night, and he was really good, especially for somebody who's been doing it for probably about a year or so at the time, I believe.
Yeah,
and I knew he'd been doing main events at GPW.
Yeah.
And the crowd would have been insane reactions, and getting to know him on Nush's 36 week physique. I was saying to these guys, it got to a point where, we always talk ideas and things like that, but then it was one of them situations where I was like, look, lads, we're booking him. Do me a favour and just go with me on this one, and don't get me wrong, they weren't saying we're not booking him, but I just said to them, I said, honestly, these are the kind of people we want here, but they didn't know them on a personal level.
People, yeah.
So, we're lucky. He's brilliant, a wrestler, but the kind of person he was the first thing that made me think I want this guy here, and the rest of it, and let's face it, he's an incredibly popular guy as well.
Yeah.
So and he's going so far up and beyond for us, and for Odyssey, to try and make it the best show possible. Like the shares and like even this, me and you talking together now, he's going out of his way to help us when he really doesn't have to. And like, I know part of that is because me and him are really good friends, but he still doesn't have to go this far. And it's like, I feel like I spend half my day messaging saying, thank you so much, mate. Thank you so much, mate. He's not doing it for that. He's doing it because he wants it to succeed, and he wants us all to succeed together, and we all win. And he says that to me, and I just think if everyone had that attitude where we're all, we all win together. Do you know what I mean? That's 100% what it's all about, and it's like, whatever promotion you're at, let's do it, let's put on a great show. And that's why, like I say, as a team, I can't wait to work with him, and even more in Odyssey, I can't wait to work with him. It's exciting.
Yeah, 100%. It's somebody I sing the praises to everybody, and as like myself. Somebody else then, you mentioned him earlier in the show, 2-Bit.
2-Bit. There was absolutely no way we couldn't book 2-Bit, because he's going to be an absolute superstar. He's like I say, knowing him from a personal level when he was a kid and things like that, and I know some of the things he's gone through in his personal life and everything, and to come out where he is now and be as talented as he is, an absolute credit to him. And he's someone who's going to be up there winning championships all over the place. Like, he literally did a couple of shows at BWR, and he won the Cruiserweight Championship against two big names on the British scene, Robbie X and Joe Nelson. So knowing how much he cares about his character, he's one of these people 2-Bit where I love the guy on a personal level. The moment, well, not even the moment, when he's backstage and he's about to come out, like Jim Carrey in The Mask comes on, it's like, boom, he's 2-Bit. He knows exactly who he is, who his character is, where he's going, what he's about. And he was part of Alpha Omega as well. And at the time, he was only about he must have been about 17.
Yeah.
And he's grown so much and from a kid trying to be a hard man into, you know, he's not the tallest and that in the world, you know what I mean? He's a bit of a short ass, but he's
little scrap.
yeah, he's a scrapper. Do you know what I mean? You look at him, he's got his little nose ring that he's had done and his bloody, you know, long hair and that he's grown out, and it's like, yeah, he's got something about him, like, and he's going to do massive things, like, you know, and you can hold me to that, like.
Yeah. Chris Daniels, Ryan Bartram, Synergy.
They're just, it's like giggling there. They're absolute top lads. So, you know what I mean? They're a great crack, great people, you know, kind people, good to be around. You know, they're the kind of, like I say about Ryan, these are the kind of people that I knock around in my own personal circles. Yeah. But then seeing them wrestle, actually, I saw them wrestle before I knew them, though, so it's kind of the opposite situation to what it was with Ryan, in the sense that I could see that these big fellas were athletic as fuck as well. And it was like, shit, these are the kind of people. But and as well as that, they had charisma and they were funny.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you could be mean as shit, you know. And you know, there's been a couple of times I've actually gone and trained with Troy Ryan from Synergy, and you know, I went down to Manchester and done a couple of sessions with him. He's legitimately the strongest person I've ever trained with by a country mile. The time I went down, we were doing some deadlifting, and I did a personal best at I think it was 185 kilograms or something like that. And you know, he steps up after me, pretty much double the weight, picks it up. Like, no. You know, it made me feel like a little baby. You know, he's got a gym that he's got in his garage with tires and all that kind of stuff as well. You know, they're like the pair of them, absolutely brilliant. They've got great ideas, and you know, and it's going to be a lot of fun working with them as well. You know.
Yeah, definitely.
They've got a big future ahead of them. The pair of them do, definitely.
100%. Isaiah Quinn,
right? Well, he was another one that initially, when we first started talking about it, we didn't have him in mind.
Yeah.
Yeah, to be honest. We'd seen it. It was actually, we had him in mind, but for the second year, we were going to maybe start having some cryptic promos and that, and then him come at the end of the first year. That was kind of the thing. But then when I started wrestling for them, I got put in a faction with him and Nick Maguire, and then on the show before they finished, Tonga joined the group as well. And you know, that's right. That was one of the main reasons I was gutted about that finishing, because his ideas and his promos and the way he presents himself, and you know, we'll talk and message about ideas. He's already sent us a couple of videos that we may or may not use or tweak, and I just think his mind for it and the way he thinks, and I just love everything about it. I think it is pro wrestling. You know, it's like I say, it's just the way he presents himself, the way he holds himself, and I'm looking forward to it. And that he's got what's coming for him has definitely been the most fun to spitball ideas about with. Because that was one of them things where it was like, this is kind of where we want to go with the story. What do you think? How would you do this? How do you want to present yourself in this scenario? You know, because he's done like, you know, he's the following and Book of Isaiah and all that, you know, and it's always been quite similar. So we were kind of like, is there anything that you've been working on, how you want to tweak it and that? But we're still telling this story. But, you know, so, his mind for it, and like you say, he's an incredibly hard worker. He's a great guy. And actually, during lockdown, I don't know if you saw much of the Guiding Light TV that he kept putting out and that. It's funny as well. The daft shit that he puts on there and that. It was like, you know, I think there was one where he had like a book reading championship or something daft like that with Tom McManus, and it was the most stupid, ridiculous thing ever. But it was probably that daft that maybe I'm just immature, like, but I thought it was one of the funniest things I've ever seen. He's just like, you know, and I like being around him like that. Like, I remember before in an out show once, he wrote down a pro. I'd just joined the group, and he wrote down a promo introducing me to the group at the end. And before it, he came up to me and he was like, "What do you think about this?" And he had a couple of bullet points down, and he was saying it to me, and he was doing it in character and that. And I was like, the fact that he's doing this a few hours before the show, running it by me and seeing how I would react in these situations, and it was something like, "I'm going to take the world in the palm of my hand," and he was closing my hand and saying, "We're going to turn it into a fist," and all this kind of stuff. I was stood there like, this is brilliant. Do you know what I mean? And then as soon as he cares that much about the product and what we're putting out, that how can you not want a guy like that really, and that's the reason, that's the main reason. He just, the way he presents himself, and I'm really looking forward to working with him.
That'll be exciting to see. You mentioned her, Tonga. Like, when I first saw Tonga, I think it'd have been when I was doing some of my work for Fierce Females and their on-demand service. Like, her character and her work just so good. Like, tell us why Tonga?
For the exact reasons you just said. It's she's a great worker. She's got a great look, and the way she holds herself and everything. It's what we want there. We want that real antagonist that fit. She's going to be presented that she, in a way that she's too good for market. She's too good for these peasants kind of thing. Do you know what I mean? And the way that she does that is absolutely brilliant, and it works inside in the sense that she's a great wrestler as well. That when she joined the group with us in out, she was only interfering in the end. So I worked there live while she's been wrestling, but I've watched, before we booked her, we watched some videos like of her and Alexis Falcon at Future Shock and some other places, and she, do you know what I mean? She's a great wrestler and a great character, and that's the main theme throughout Markham. We've got great wrestlers that have great characters. Do you know what I mean? And because that's what the crowd, knowing that crowd, that's what they want there. The character and the presentation is more important than the moves with a Z. Do you know what I mean? It's, so, if you tell a good story, which, Tonga's more than, definitely going to be able to.
Yeah, definitely. What about Craig Collins?
Craig Collins is probably one of the most criminally underrated wrestlers around. Craig started when he started. He was one of the guys who did the backyard wrestling, the inherited knockout wrestling, and he also does personal training. That he's an absolute animal, strong, athletic. He's a huge guy, can do standing backflips and all that kind of stuff. And he started training in Markham when he started doing it for real, if you will, in inverted quote marks. But he was a bad guy in Markham right the way through, and then became one of their favourites and just a complete badass. And he's been a champion there, and he's been a champion. He's the current knockout wrestling champion, because it's one of the promotions where they haven't actually reset the champions.
Yeah.
And he's just incredible, and he's a great friend as well. But he does GPW, he's done PCW. But he's quite an introvert. You wouldn't think when you see him come out and he's the War Machine, Craig Collins, and he's unbelievable and he's an animal. And then when you see him backstage, he's one of the most quiet, humble, nice guys you'll ever have the pleasure of meeting. And like I say, he's a great friend of mine as well. So he's going to come in and make an impact. And we know that the Markham faithful will be happy to see him as well, because it's getting that mix between the old and the new there as well. Because it's a regular crowd, we want them to see some of the old guys that we're bringing, but then we've got this new crop of people coming in as well. But this new crop of people that I have. We have very much confident the crowd will take to as well, whether good or bad. It's like when we're releasing these names, some of the Markham fans have been messaging us saying, "Oh, who's this? What are they like? Do they respect the fans and all that?" Do you know what I mean? They're actually asking us these questions, like, do they respect the fans and that? And it's like, but they message me personally sometimes, and I'm like, well, I don't know. I'm not even on the show. I don't know. Because like a lot of the Markham fans probably won't be on Twitter. So when they message me, I don't know what you're talking about.
Well, but obviously by the time this is released, they will know you are going to be part of that roster. But finally, you mentioned her, like she's from my hometown. Like I interviewed her last year, and it turns out we went to the same school. I was a couple of years ahead, so we didn't know each other, but we lived close by. We went to the same school, and now she's living in Liverpool and in Scouse. Alexis Falcon.
I think she's the most. I think she's got probably the most momentum in women's wrestling in Britain as a whole. To be honest, I think where she's come from RWA, where I believe she started training, to where she is now, and the timeline that she's done it in is pretty incredible. So with Morecambe, I first met her at a Morecambe show where they brought her in, and I think it was one of the first outside bookings outside of the company. She was very nervous backstage, and I think she might have been doing a raffle or an interview or something like that. And I think somebody was attacking her. Kind of, I was doing my thing, but I was talking to her backstage, and she was really nervous. And then in that about 2-year stint that she was there, she won the women's championship twice. Totally came out of the shell, and a lot of the crowd, females, fucking adore her, like because they look up to her. It's a hero for them. Do you know what I mean? That's someone they can aspire to be. So when I spoke to Alex about it and about being involved, she was so excited and so happy because she already knows what that crowd are and what she means to that crowd and what they mean to her. So it'll be like. It's one of those things where when her music hits and she comes out and they see her again, the reaction's going to be incredible. I can already see it in my head now how it's going to go, and that's why when we run our first show, it's going to be post-COVID because we want to pack our place out and that we don't want to have to be socially distancing the crowd. Now we want the atmosphere to be what that atmosphere is capable of being.
Yeah, definitely, and. Again, with the momentum, like she's going to be debuting Progress, and she deserves it. Like she's done so much.
Right, so that's her and Tonga as well, isn't it? They're going to be and they deserve it. And to be fair, I didn't know that them two were going to be debuting for Progress until I was watching the WWE Network last Friday, and they came up, and I was like, oh shit! I was like, that's awesome. Do you know what I mean? That's just both and saying congratulations, that's wicked. You know what I mean? It's cool. It's cool because people like that deserve that platform, and then it's cool seeing Chris on that platform as well, and Chris doing so well in Noah in Japan and things like that. Because I know the guy on a personal level who's a friend. You root for your friends, so it's really cool. It's cool, and it must be really cool for them when they can say to their parents and friends, "Like, look, I'm on the WWE Network." That's great, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. But now, like, really excited. It's been a great start to like building the roster. I'm looking forward to some of the new stuff, and again, like closer to the time when the fair show's happening, we'll get back on the show to kind of like promote everything and break down the show and stuff like that. And really excited to see what happens with again your career away from Odyssey, but as well with Odyssey going forward.
Oh, I appreciate it. No, I really do. I'm really looking forward to it.
No, brilliant. Well, man, it's been great speaking to you. It really has. Where can people find yourself and Odyssey on social media?
So social media, we're on myself and Odyssey are on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. So it's Odyssey Pro Wrestling on all the platforms. OPW_UK, and for myself, it's Rick Markus 1 is my handle on most of them. But if you put in the Cumbrian Outlaw Rick Markus, you'll find me on there on all the socials.
Brilliant. I'll put it in the description below as well, so everybody will be able to find it there. Again, Rick, thank you for coming on the show. It's been a pleasure speaking to you, and I look forward to doing it again in the future.
Absolutely, let's do it. I really enjoyed it, mate. It's been brilliant.
Brilliant. Everybody, make sure you hit like, make sure you hit subscribe, follow Rick and Odyssey Pro Wrestling on social media. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. Until next time.